Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this discussion. Today, we're going to explore an interesting topic, the topic of Track 1 and Track 2 in the political process. Now, you might be wondering, what are Track 1 and Track 2? Or who came up with these terms? Well, these terms were first introduced by Joseph Montville back in the 1980s. Montville used them to describe two different ways of handling conflicts and promoting peace in the world. So let's start with Track 1. Track 1 is what you might think of as the formal way of doing things. It involves official leaders like government officials, heads of state, or diplomats. These are the people who negotiate treaties, sign agreements, and make decisions at the highest level. For example, think about a country where a civil war has erupted, where two sides are fighting, and the conflict has caused suffering for many people. At some point, the political leaders from both sides may agree to a ceasefire. They stop fighting temporarily so they can meet and negotiate peace. These are the Track 1 actors, the official political leaders who represent their groups or governments in the formal peace process. Now, Track 2 is a little different. Track 2 is what we call the informal approach. It involves people outside of the government, think of academics, non-governmental organizations, or even religious leaders. These are people who work behind the scenes to build trust, open dialogue, and find creative solutions to problems. So what's the difference? One is official, Track 1. The other, Track 2, is unofficial but still important. They work together and they complement each other. Now let's talk about civil society and groups like women's advocacy organizations. These groups play a huge role, especially in Track 2. Civil society groups, they help bring the voices of ordinary people into the conversation. They advocate for policies that reflect the needs of communities. Women's advocacy groups, in particular, they push for policies that promote gender equality and represent women's perspectives. Both civil society and women's groups are key in shaping policy. They work hard to influence decision-makers and make sure diverse voices are heard. So, to sum up, Track 1 is formal and official. Track 2 is informal and collaborative. Together, they create a system where governments, civil society, and advocacy groups can work to solve problems and create lasting peace. Does anyone have questions or anything to add before we dive deeper?